Okay, so when it comes to modern war,
Okay.
what types of stuff that we do is okay with God?
Oh,
Like
okay.
like torture, waterboarding for information, or chemical warfare, or biological warfare. Like, does God just want us to use bow and arrows, or can we?
I get you.
Can we glass other countries with our space lasers?
Space lasers.
Are we allowed to do that?
You're very convinced we got space lasers up there already. Yeah. That's the newest invention.
Yeah.
Okay.
None of us are allowed to go up there. So.
Right. We have no idea what they put up there now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So what does God think of all that? Like, is there forms of cruel and unusual warfare?
Okay.
Or does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we have cruel and unusual punishment, but does God think about it the same way as that?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's a really good question. In terms of just like weapons being used, the reality is technology is going to continue to develop. So therefore weapons are going to continue to develop. Right. I mean, so I don't think God is standing over there necessarily going one is worse than the other in terms of just the basic things we're using for warfare, bow and arrow versus, your most modern, technological machine gun. Right.
Okay.
Like, I don't think necessarily there's like an issue there per se. I do think that, when you're talking about though, so you should probably come up with different things. So, all right, let's say like the individual like torture part of things.
Torture,
right? And
who are you working for?
Right, right.
That kind of stuff.
That kind of stuff. Right? Yeah. One finger at a time.
Yeah. Right.
I do think that we again so for me, Joseph, I'm looking at it as going sanctity of life. So therefore we should have some type of ways in which we engage. Right? Like there are. Like we have international laws of even how prisoners of war are supposed to be treated, right?
Okay.
And so, I do think that there
again, no one follows that.
They're there. I'm just saying, and so in that, I think there's a sense of we all recognize that there should be a standard of which care is provided, right, or the way people are treated. But do I also realize that torture methods and waterboarding or those kind of things are used? Sure, and there's a lot of ethical debates on honestly on those things, right?
Well, what's the debate?
The debate is should you do it at all? Should you do it in if circumstances just deem that you absolutely have to do something to get the information to therefore save multiple lives?
I didn't realize this was going to be such a hard topic.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, because there's so much ethical nuance in it. I guess it's in other words,
it's like in all these questions that I have. It's like I guess we're going to have ethical nuance, and you're just going to be like, "Moo."
Well, it's not that I'm like that. I'm just saying that there is a large gamut for Christians in which they approach it.
Okay,
but I'm also saying that there's ways in which I, as a pastor, am going, I probably am going, nah, maybe we shouldn't do that. But then if I'm just being also honest, like when rubber meets the road, like if you've got to get information, you got to get information. And so and I'm, and that sounds horrible.
They can live without fingers.
That sounds horrible because then it opens up a Pandora's box of then, well, does anything go to get information, right?
Okay.
And I think that becomes the issue because there's a part of me that goes, no, you should be able to do what you need to do to get up. But when we're constantly crossing ethical lines, we end up with no morals and no ethical lines, and then that's when we become the worst of who we are.
Okay.
And so so for me personally, I think there should be ethical lines, but I also realize those lines get crossed.
Okay, what about like we have to do actual sin stuff?
Okay.
In order to effectuate our war better.
I got you.
Like James Bond has to sleep with all those women. You know what I mean? In order to save England.
Every time, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like he does like that's a joke, but there's been spies that go sleep with people in order to, and they have to keep up the charade. And what if those spies are married?
Right.
Like how do you feel about stuff like that?
Yeah. Oh man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's no. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah. Like this does happen. Well, because also I think about people that I know that have done things, not on a sexual immoral thing, but I know they have individuals, former military, they are Christians that have done things that they're probably not real proud of either. You know,
okay,
they would sit there and go, we fudged some stuff there ethically, maybe moral wise.
Okay,
or an individual I know that actually was like he was a paid assassin. Like that's what he did.
You know someone that way? Okay,
and so like. So you're all this stuff you're wrestling, like I'm wrestling with going, man, where's the ethical, moral parts of this? And also knowing that this is the way our fallen world functions. And I think that's kind of like part of it. It's like there's a fallen world that functions this way. And so, it's not like we, like even in the war we're in right now, it's not like we just, magically knew where targets were, right? You've got people on the ground.
You can Google that.
Yeah. That are there. You got people on the ground.
They're usually in a clump of other smaller stores around them.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Anyways, we have people on the ground that are doing things like lying, deceiving, to ensure that, hey, we can pass along this type of information, and so all of that stuff is happening, and I realize it's happening. I think all I can say is that as a pastor, I'm glad I don't, I'm not obviously having to make those decisions, but it's like, even like individuals like, all right, so I'll use a Christian theologian named Dietrich Bonhoeffer. So in the 1930s, he was a pastor in Germany, and he and others actually plotted to have Hitler assassinated. Like they were plotting to do that. They were arrested, thrown in jail. He ended up being executed. And
so they lost.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And we made
in that sense.
What?
Well,
didn't we make a movie about that?
Yeah, there was a movie made about it.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought.
And so Dietrich Bonhoeffer, as a Christian pastor, made a decision that to stop war, or to stop, Hitler and the evil atrocities that were happening because of it to all of these people, he needed to act. And his act was going to be more than simply just praying, or speaking out against it. He was going to actually take action to see Hitler actually killed.
Okay.
And so my point being is that there are even pastors and leaders that are willing to say, we got to do things, like the evil is just so real, we have to do it. But then it also, we realize World War II is kind of there's never been anything, I don't think, really like that in a lot of ways, where it was just blatant. Okay, yeah, that's evil, that's awful. We have, we're involved now, and we've got to do something about it. And so, because it's still, good Lord, D-Day, you had so many lives lost, right? And so it was awful, but you had to get involved. And the things now, you can look at it and go, well, it's okay that we've done because of human right violations and da-da-da-da, right? Like, you can justify it on a moral basis, but then how far do we go down that rabbit hole of, okay, but these things are therefore justified to see this, because we've got to end this. In other words, it's like, am I going to sin to stop greater sin? It kind of feels like that's kind of what it is a little bit.
Yeah. What's the answer?
Well, if we if we look at I'm thinking of like the the story in Exodus where the midwives do not do what they're told. They lie. And they're actually blessed because they lie, because they will not kill the sons that are being born to the Israelite women.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they actually lie. And they're blessed because of it. Like, so it's like, in other words, was their lying a lesser sin than taking a life of a child?
Okay.
Right? I mean, are we weighing scales here?
So everything James Bond does is okay. Is that what we're saying?
I'm not saying that because, I mean, James Bond just doing he wants to do stuff, but for the individuals that are having to do things for the purpose of a mission.
For the Queen.
Yeah. I think that for people that are doing certain things for a mission, whether that's sexual morality, whether that is lying or whatever it is, deceiving, whatever, like, I mean, man, to me, this is where all this can get real muddy real fast.
Okay.
Because again, like, I can sit here as a Christian and go, no, we should never do X, Y, and Z. Right? We should never do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, throughout Scripture, you see it. Like, there's the guy that comes to, David, and it's like, hey, David, here's what happened to Saul. Now, he's lying about what happened with Saul because he's saying, I killed Saul. And David's like, well, you're going to die now. Like, it's just like, wait, what just happened? And so the man from God's own heart, now he's had somebody else killed. Like, this is getting crazy. And so I think that when you look at Scripture, and I just don't think Scripture is maybe as nice and tidy and clear as we would like it to be.
Okay.
All these kind of things. Because I do think there are individuals that do have to do certain things for the sake of what they believe to be the right thing for our government. And for our government, it's for our country, right? Like,
right.
Soldiers and individuals are not involved just because of our government's sake. It's for the country's sake, right? And so, and I think where I would probably end up is somewhere where, to be honest with you, I would probably have issues like Carter of going, oh man, this is morally pulling me apart everywhere, right? I don't know how I can make really good decisions.